I know that we got a lot of music to play for people, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But, you know, going back to the book for just a second, you know, I was at the school today. Coretta Scott King has a leadership academy, and they asked the kids, it was 300 kids in the room, and they said, how many of y'all have your fathers in your life? And out of 300, about 8. Can you believe that? 8 raised their hands.
Yeah, that's pretty painful when you think about it, because our community deserves it, man. Like we need that man figure in our lives, whether it's a young guy, a young boy, or a young lady. And I mean, it's just the family deserves it, the wives deserve it. But hopefully, man, I always like seeing, man, we going in the right direction, man. I always look at things with some hope. And I didn't even grow up with my father, to be honest. Right. Like my father was, he moved to Denver. My mother and father separated when I was a shorty, and you know, he still kept a presence though. We communicated. But I mean, I feel like, man, the best situation we can get is to have a married family and be raising kids. That's a great situation.
You talk about it in the book. I mean, the book starts off with you talking about, and I'm telling y'all, I mean, if I read the book, I'm telling you, he starts off the book talking about the fact that his dad handcuffed his mom to the steering wheel, and he was getting ready to go try one more time to make it in the league. Yeah. And like, you started off hard. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't know how to have an opinion on your father, but later on, you kind of brought it all back full circle, though. I mean, but they had a relationship that was like gasoline and oil, man. It was hard, but it was rough. I think one of the lines your dad was like, the best thing I could do is stay 1,000 miles away from your mother.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was definitely tough, man. You know, it was just, you know, a man going through his problems. Cause my dad played ball in the ABA for like a year and a half, 2 years. And then his career wasn't going well, so he kind of got hooked on some dope for a second and just going through that situation. My mother trying to make things happen. They have a child. And, you know, there's the struggles that we go through sometimes. Right. So that was there. And it just, you know, like you said, I don't know if it was oil and water or whatever it was, but it was some friction. But, you know, they made it through. My mother made it through the turmoil. My father made it through. And I made it through. I'm alive.
But he also got you your first record. I mean, we talk about the Planet Rock, right?
Yeah.
Because when Universal Mind Control came out, and that's still one of my, I remember you opened up for somebody at Phillips Arena, and I didn't know about the break dancing and all that, and I was in a room with a whole bunch of ladies, and you started doing all the moves. They like, man, I ain't know he could do all that.
Yeah, that's how I got into hip hop, really, because I love like the whole like break dance, and I love rapping. And my father was the person who brought me. He asked me what I wanted. He came to visit Chicago, and he was like, what do you want? And I was like, man, I want this record, man. This record is called Planet Rock. And, you know, it was Africa Bambaataa, and, you know, and I got that record. And lo and behold, like maybe 20 years later, I don't know how many years later, I was doing a record like Universal Mind Control, which was based on Planet Rock in itself. And we ended up doing a commercial with Africa Bambaataa years later. So it's like, man, you never know how things come full circle. You know, it's like incredible. Like just like I just got to perform with Melly Mel and do the message, and that was like one of the second records I got in my life. So.
Right. And you know what, you were talking about in the book about being a poet, and Maya Angelou calls you a poet, and you had been to the White House more than once, but then this last year, all of the backlash, because they were going back and looking for stuff to try to find something about something you were saying. Did you think it was because now you had a newfound celebrity? Like before, you know, before the acting and all that stuff, they was like, well, you know, Fox got to find something wrong with Common. But you had already been to the White House a couple of times.
Yeah, I had just been to the White House in December of 2010, and the year before that, I think really what that was about was they were really trying to get at the president and the first lady, and once I was invited, they digging deep. And honestly, when I heard Sarah Palin and Fox News talking about me, I was like, man, I'm getting kind of big. They had me on talk shows like Jon Stewart coming out, like defending me. I was like, man, I'm world news right now. But eventually, you know, I was like, man, you know, people that know of Common already know that that's not what I'm about, what they were depicting me as. And then the people who didn't know may have been like, let me see what this Common guy's about. They would find out the truth. The truth is always gonna come to light. You can't hide the truth no matter what. So I felt comfortable in that situation. And you know, they always trying to get at the president.
All right. I want to play Blue Sky, man, but I want you to kind of tell everybody the mindset about Blue Sky before we play it.
Yeah, I kind of spoke on Blue Sky for a second, but what this song is about is, man, reaching your dreams. It's about, like, saying, hey, I have a purpose. And whatever it is, whatever your purpose is, go get it at the highest level. And I just wrote about it, you know, I emceed on the verses, but the whole theme of the song itself is just going to get it, reaching for the sky. So yeah, this is produced by No ID, and this is Blue Sky off the Dream of the Believer, y'all.
Y'all get up for Common. And I guess we're talking about, you know, Blue Sky and, you know, all the things that you've been able to accomplish. The acting thing in the book, you kind of, you have embraced that.
Yeah.
You know, are you still nervous on auditions? Because Smoking Aces, I told you, did y'all see Smoking Aces? Man, you killed that. You and Alicia Keys.
Thanks, yeah. I mean, that was the first film I got a chance to be in. And that was the first time I got a call back. So when speaking of auditions, I definitely got nervous, or sometimes get nervous, but I feel more confident now, you know, after doing more work and being more experienced as an actor. But it's crazy as an actor, you know, no matter how big you are in the music game, you still gotta go sign that sign-in sheet, and then you see people dressed up in the same attire you got on, like, because you thinking you coming unique for your audition, dressing in character, but everybody there with the same mindset, and it's like, you gotta just work through it, man, because you start seeing actors you seen in different movies, and this is what I'm saying happened to me early on as I was auditioning, but now I kind of, you know, it kind of just worked through it, like, okay, they go Denzel, now Denzel, but you know, it's people, you know, you see these great actors, and you know, you're in competition with them, but you just got to go in and do your thing.
But you've been in some films with some very, very powerful actors, and also you talk about that they have given you advice because they want you to succeed, and I think that's probably one of the issues that we have, man, is that we all need to be like, we want everybody to win. It's always got, you know, a lot of times we be like, it's going to be me or you, and it ain't going to be me.
Right. And I mean, it's like, when you get the information, it's just good to share, man. It's just good to give to others. It's actually helpful to you. And I was really honored that Denzel Washington sat there and said to me, he told me some things to do as an actor that helped me in the scene. And Morgan Freeman was like, stayed late. It was like 5 in the morning when we was filming. And he was like, you know, I usually don't do this, but I'm going to do this for you, you know. And I know part of that is just reaching out for a young brother. So it's like, man, one thing we got to realize, and I realize, is my space is my space. It ain't like nobody that can take my space if I'm doing my thing. So why not help somebody else? Why not be cool with Idris Elba or Will Smith or whomever? I'm going for roles, and they going for the same roles. You know, still, yo, the person that's supposed to get it, what God got in store for you, gonna get. You know, that's it.
Give it up. I like that. Going back to the music, and I think, again, going back to the book, again, someday it all makes sense. You talk about Electric Circus and how Electric Circus didn't get the critical acclaim that you wanted it to, and people were like, man, I don't know what Common doing it. And you yourself were kind of like, man, is it over? Yeah. I mean, how do you go from that to coming back? Like, what was that mindset like for you when you were like, man, is it over?
I just, even though I felt, you know, the wave of people being like, man, what is Common doing? We don't want to hear that from this dude. What's going on? You know, they on to the next, really. I always still believed in myself. I knew that I was doing something that I really could excel in. I believed in it. I knew I had to work. And that's, you know, that fight we talking about, like, that's the fight for the good reason. You know, that's the fight that's worth it when you like, all right, I fell down, but I can get back up. You know, shoot, I didn't work this hard to get to this level. It ain't like everything is gone. I just, man, fell down. I just got to keep climbing. So I just took that mentality. It made me more hungry, really. I remember that period. I hopped on Kanye's song, Get 'Em High, and I was going around just, you know, rocking with dudes and just rocking shows and just getting out there. And then I came with the album B. So some of those things you can use for motivating factors when you get knocked down. I always say you turn obstacles into possibles. You know?
There you go. All right. Now you talk about in the book as well. You know, you've been in the business a long time, and when you made Used to Love Her, you know, the whole West Side Connection thing, and then they come back, and then you go back. But now here we are in 2012, and people have been talking about this sweet record, and then they talking about, you know, the person, as they always say in the South, a hit dog, a holler. and you know, the hit dog hollered, and now you're saying names. I'm going to ask you before we get into the whole dynamics of hip-hop, knowing that when you did it the first time, and you weren't even trying to diss anybody, but they thought you were dissing the West Coast. Now in 2012, what made you say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and say your name and let you know, do you feel like it's not going to get to a part where it's going to escalate? Or is it the fact that we know that Canada's not going to come over here and kick our ass?
Nah, it's not like that. I'm not being arrogant enough to think that, you know.
Sorry, baby, you. I know you're from Canada. Don't come down. I'm sorry.
And I got love for my peeps from Canada, but I mean, my approach was like, this is what I feel. Like, I'm an artist. I'm gonna say what I gotta say on record. I talked about hip hop, whether it was from I Used to Love Her or different songs. I say specific things about the state of hip hop or what I think about songs. Or a lot of the music that's out there. And that's all I really did on Sweet. And I made it, first of all, I never woke up thinking about I'm gonna write against somebody. If you listen to the song Sweet, I'm talking about how great I am, you know. And then in the ad-libs, you do hear me being like, oh, some soft dudes out there. That's just what I was feeling. I felt that angst and that energy. And I just said it, but I said that, and I said it's not to anybody specific. You know, it's not to anybody specific. It's many times I've written songs that I might see examples in rap, but I'm not trying to diss that character, that person specifically, but I say that's the state of rap at that time. So that's what that song was, Sweet, and I mean, that's really all it was.
Well, now, you know, I heard an interview, we played the excerpt yesterday, that you said that, you know, if it was on pay-per-view and they had it for charity, would you fight Drake? And you was like, I'll take the gloves, we don't need no gloves.
I was really joking, man. It's like sometimes you gotta like, you know, I started talking about the subject matter so much that you just gotta, you know, take it as fun at a certain point. I mean, it's fun anyway. It's a hip hop thing where you go, like this dude say this to you, you say it back, you know, and I never ever in my mind felt like I wanted it to escalate to something beyond that. I mean, when I think of hip hop was something that we used to get us off the streets and used to elevate us. So I'm not trying to get out there and start doing the same things I was doing or things that we did on the street. So I ain't trying to be on that level. I'm like, yo, I'm an MC, you say something against me, I'm gonna say that. But you know, the gloves off thing, look, I ain't trying to get in no physical confrontation. Let me make that clear. You know, people joke with me, I gotta be able to joke too, you know what I mean?
Right. Now you know, also you have talked about your relationships. You've been very transparent about that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the funniest thing in the book was you was like, when you was dating Erica, all your boys at home was like, yo, man, is you got on a moo-moo, man? I mean, you know, you talk about those things, but in your life, that you want to settle down and be married, right?
Yeah, I definitely.
Any ladies want to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yo, man, two ladies, like, yeah. But, you know, I definitely want that for my life with the right person. So, you know, and at the right time. So I don't try to rush it, and I am aware, and like that's really how I take it. But with Erica, it was a good relationship. I don't say got nothing but good things to say about it because it was good. And even when the breakup came, I still learned my lessons and kept it moving.
Right. And I mean, you talk about, you know, your mother's, your daughter's mother. You also talk about, and your mom is commenting on each relationship. She's talking about, you know, Taraji. She's talking about everybody. Is it to the point, like, when you find that woman, is your mom going to have to co-sign?
I can't say that, man. Cause I mean, I got to live my life. And, like, you know, I want my mate to respect my mother and respect my family. But, you know, every person on earth, they ain't always gonna be BFFs and be best friends and meaning, as long as the respect is there, I can't expect, you know, two grown women to necessarily be hanging out all the time. That's not where it is. I mean, my mother basically says to me she wants what's best for me, even though I know behind closed doors she's like, oh no, that ain't it. But she wants what's best for me, and I know in my life I have to make the choice of who I want to share my life with. So as much as I would like, you know, my mother to enjoy that person and respect that person, you know, I can't live and choose my woman over from my mother's choice. You know?
Right.